Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live Show. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO, and you can also find us on the audio side as well. So, if you got a couple of minutes to leave a rate and review, make sure you do. Give us a 5-star because why wouldn't you? And yeah, lots to get into. A little bit of a hiatus. There were some fights over the weekend. They went as we thought they would. Bryan Ennis won, of course. Bam won as well, which we thought. And Bryan, any thoughts from the weekend and anything that we saw?
Yeah, I mean, no surprises. Bet Keyshawn Davis to win by knockout. He handled business. Bam also by knockout handled business. Boots Ennis didn't think he was going to win by knockout. He handled business, but he's gotten some criticism in his direction, including from Terrence Crawford, who basically said without saying, "You ain't ready for these problems yet." And I think some people think that Boots Ennis might be a little bit overhyped now, which I don't know if I'm going to jump that far, but I will say like he was more impressive in his first performance and against Karen Chukadazan. And that was considering that he didn't look spectacular in that fight
No,
either.
everyone was saying he looked bad in that fight. So the
Right.
fact that he looked better essentially in the first fight and we said it was bad, that's terrible. Do I look like Spinelli from Recess? Spinelli? Did you ever watch Recess?
Did someone say
Brian?
that?
Yeah,
No, I
Al the
didn't.
Pal. Al the Pal.
Okay.
You didn't watch Recess? Honestly, that's a
I
classic
did
show.
a little bit.
Al the Pal knows what's up. My favorite was Hustler Kid, by the way, obviously.
Huh.
Um,
Chat's not working for me, so this might be all you tonight. On the
okay.
comment section. That's interesting. That's why I didn't see it. So
Did you see it when I pulled it up like this? Al the
yes, I did.
Pal.
Yeah, I
Okay,
did see
cool.
that. Spinelli from Recess. I saw
Yeah.
Recess a little bit, but it wasn't like one of my shits. But yeah,
Because you're a little bit younger, so it's it must have missed your time.
I
Yeah,
don't
because
think so.
it's actually a big gap between us, essentially. It's
Not.
a pretty it's kind of big. It's kind of big.
It's
In a sense, culturally, I feel like there's things that
it's
I
only a few
experienced.
years. You
Yeah, but
know,
it's more than a few years.
one presidential cycle,
More than that.
slightly.
Yeah, more than that. So essentially, that's pretty big. That's half a decade. So you didn't experience some things that I experienced.
I mean, likewise, I guess.
Well,
Listen,
yeah, because you're a little bit younger, but I'm just saying, yeah. Recess was dope.
it wasn't one of my go-tos.
What did you watch?
Ed
What
and
did,
Eddie.
I don't even know what that is. That's the gap right there. I don't even know what that is. No, I have no idea what that is.
You're acting like you're 40. You've never heard of Ed and Eddie before?
No, that wasn't something that I watched. I'm
What?
still born in the 80s.
I mean, it's a dumb cartoon, so I wouldn't like
Well, I
it's
like Rick and
stupid.
Morty. I like Rick and Morty, and that's dumb.
So do I. But
And
like
I like yeah,
that's newer. You know what I mean? Like
I like The Simpsons, old school
yeah,
Simpsons.
but The Simpsons is, like that
It's still going
everybody's.
on.
Yeah, right. Which I haven't seen for a while. Apparently they keep predicting shit.
They
You
have,
know.
yeah. Marge's voice is
I was
different. You
more of
can't
a
watch it.
Nickelodeon kid, you know what I mean? I had Jimmy
I
Neutron
watched
growing up. I had shit like that, you know.
a little bit of a
Hey
gap.
Arnold,
Hey Arnold was dope. Okay, I
Rocket
rock with Hey
Power.
Arnold. Yes, yes.
Arthur was
Um,
PBS, I think.
Arthur was.
Yeah.
I think everyone liked Arthur and the Magic School Bus.
Yeah. Like
You
putting
know
me
what I
on the
mean?
spot. I can't think of others, but like yeah.
Anyways, let's
I
get
saw
back to
all that shit
boxing.
when I was younger.
Let's get back to boxing, guys. Okay, as you were saying about Jerron Dennis.
The scorecards were also so he had a 116, 110 from Steve Weisfeld, who's done many, many, many main event fights. And I thought that was the scorecard, like for me coming away from it. Karen Chukada's on I did think won at least 3 rounds in that fight. Um he got deducted a point for holding and he was also knocked down in the fight. So without that, maybe the cards look a little different. But regardless, Boots won, and it wasn't like super spectacular. It wasn't like Regis Prograis fighting in his hometown against Danielito Zorrilla. It wasn't like that, but it wasn't awesome, and it sucks because like you kind of wanted Boots to just destroy Kara Chukadazan because it was a rematch that we absolutely did not need at all. Like it was pointless, and again, I thought he probably looked better the first time around.
Yeah, not what I expected. A little bit disappointing, and I think that's why Bud took it to social media, as you could say. But I did think Keyshawn Davis, his rollout in Norfolk, Virginia was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Keyshawn Davis was great. Keyshawn Davis, he
Came
got
out
the,
with the band, like the knockout, um, all of it was dope. And
yeah,
you can tell that Keyshawn Davis is next in line to be one of the biggest superstars in boxing. No doubt
yeah.
about it. If he continues to keep this up, he's selling out arenas. He has that superstar. He just has the vibe to him. And, him and Tank have been going at it back and forth.
And on top of that, he's building a legit resume for somebody who is also just 12-0, should be 13-0, but weed. They they took away one of the wins from him against Nahir Albright, which was a close fight and one that's aging better and better for Nahir Albright, who we'll see if he can turn that into something. But Keyshawn Davis is legit, and I want to see him against better and better competition. I like people could say he might not be ready for Tank, but I thought about this when he beat Gustavo Lemos. One, where were Gustavo Lemos rank amongst the people that Tank beat so far in his career? I don't think it's like that low. I don't think it's going to be up there with even Isaac Cruz, but I don't think it's that low is the point. And Lemos showed up very
He's a good
overweight for this
fight.
fight. He
He's
showed up
a
very
good
overweight
fighter,
for this
though.
fight. Yeah, he showed up very overweight for this fight. But we came away thinking he beat Richardson Hitchens, who's going to get a title shot next month. And the other thing about Keyshawn Davis is Miguel Madueno, Jose Pedraza, he's got some dudes on his resume. Where would he rank amongst Gervonta Davis challengers is probably like the question for me.
I
And
think
he'd
he'd be one of
high
the
up there.
scariest. I think he'd
Yeah.
be one of the scariest challengers for Gervonta Tank Davis, to be quite honest with you. I think Tank, though, he's so skilled and he's so tactical that people forget about that. People always just think Tank has power. And I think that's the one thing the experience would come in handy. But I think it would be one of those things where, like, does it make sense for you to fight him? Right. So we
He'll make a lot
won't.
of money.
Yeah, we won't stick on this topic, guys, because if you
I
want to
have
talk
one more
about it a little
question,
bit
though.
later, what's up?
One more question though. If I could get you to set the odds on what a fight would look like between, you're going to play odds maker. Keyshawn Davis is fighting Frank Martin. Keyshawn Davis is probably the favorite for that fight, but what is he? He's minus what?
I think he's like I would think he's like a minus 275, minus 300. And Frank Martin, I think he'd be a big favorite. You think it'd be close?
No,
I think I would put my money on Keyshawn.
I would too. I like Frank Martin. I think he's really good, but
he's really good.
Like, to compare to somebody who Tank just beat and somebody we both think is good, but just like is maybe a cut under elite. Like, if Keyshawn Davis is going to be elite, like that's the type of fight that I would want to see him get next en route to eventually fighting Tank.
I just want to see Frank Martin in another fight. I thought he fought Tank pretty well.
Yeah.
And until he got knocked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of those fights where Keyshawn is a big favorite. Like, the guy is a superstar, and it was really impressive what we saw over the weekend. But we have a weekend coming up, and it's a big weekend. It starts off on Friday night, and this is a fight that got postponed. We were supposed to get it back in July. And there's reports coming out, by the way, that tickets are not selling, but we're not going to get into that aspect of it. Yeah, tickets are not selling. There's lots of tickets available still. Maybe they'll sell out just before on the Friday. And of course, this is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And Brian, I'm sure you have the odds with you at the moment. I didn't write down the odds. Do you have the odds for Mike Tyson and Jake Paul? Did either of us write it down?
Well, considering that I did,
I have it. Actually, I have it right here. See, I got to do everything around here, you guys.
I have it. No, I was gonna say, considering I had to do a preview for this fight, literally today, which is gonna go up tomorrow, Action Network. Yes, I do have the odds in front of me, and I've had the odds like just sort of burned into my memory. Right now, and this is important. Jake Paul is minus 220 according to one popular sports book, and Mike Tyson is plus 170 on the money line. That's just the money line. It should be noted, months ago, Jake Paul was like minus legitimately 500, and Mike Tyson was a heavy underdog, and a lot of steam like a lot of money has come in on Mike Tyson over the last week or so. Mike Tyson was plus 230. I think even a few days ago, I saw it one prominent sports book. So this is coming down. A lot of people are starting to get on the Mike Tyson sort of bandwagon. He's plus 240 to win by knockout now, or technical knockout. That is a price that has dropped as well, just from a purely betting perspective. So I think these numbers are interesting. I think if you're somebody who wants to bet Mike Tyson, you look at that and you kind of have to strike now. If you want to look at Jake Paul, maybe it's worth waiting a little bit to see if it comes down a little bit more, or you could strike now in the event that you're worried that the price sort of goes back and, favors Jake Paul a little bit more and bounces back heading up to this fight.
The underdog, and more people on a Friday night are going to continue to put money on him. And it'll be interesting to see when we talk about knockdowns and how we're going to be betting this fight. By the way, guys, keep the comments coming. We will get to all of your comments. But Bryan, how are you going to be betting this fight? And how do you see this fight going?
Oh man, I'll go for I should go first because my pick is not going to be like cool like yours. I'm sure you're actually gonna like be courageous and pick a side. I don't know who's gonna win this fight, but I do think somebody's gonna get dropped, and I do think we could see multiple knockdowns potentially. So I'm already planning. I don't know what the parlay is gonna be, but one or more knockdowns at minus 250 last I checked, that's going in a parlay 1000%. I'm not going to play that straight up because it's heavy juice. So I will lump that in with something else, maybe some football, whatever the case may be, because it'll be on the weekend, or maybe an NBA game because there'll be a bunch of NBA games on Friday. The other bet that I like is 2 or more knockdowns. That's plus money. That's plus 170-ish right now. Because I think whoever gets dropped will likely recover, and then we could see them get dropped again. There's a lot potentially that can go wrong with this fight. And I think, and I've been saying this, to me, Jake Paul has way more to lose than Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson, you could argue, has more to lose from just a physical perspective. Like, we got a comment earlier, IMPK, do you guys fear Mike Tyson's health and well-being? And I would say, yes, I'm worried about that to some degree, considering he had a fucking ulcer months ago, which is what pushed this fight back from July to November. And the fact that he's 58 years old and old enough to be Jake Paul's son, who was 27 years old. But at the same time, to me, I think that if Jake Paul wins this fight, and let's say Mike Tyson is not in like dire health constraints, if Jake Paul wins this fight, we're going to look at him and be like, you beat a 58-year-old Mike Tyson who looked pretty washed when he was 38 years old, when we last saw him in the ring in 2005. But if you lose this fight, we're going to be like, you lost a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Like, I don't know how much of this
Mike Tyson, though.
Yeah, but is it really? Like, that's kind of what we have to find out. Like, I think Jake Paul is potentially a big loser in this almost either way.
So in terms of how I'm going to be betting this fight, well, you didn't even give your pick, actually. Was that your pick? Just 2 or more knockdowns?
Are you underwhelmed by that?
No, that's my pick. 2 or more knockdowns, plus 165. I think both of them get dropped in this fight.
Same pick? How do we have the same pick here?
Because this is one of those fights where, like you said, it's Mike Tyson. He's 58 years old. He's my mom's age. He's my mom's age. Jake Paul is fighting someone my mother's age. That's what's going on in this fight. Now, despite that, Mike Tyson is one of the best punchers in the world, one of the best knockout artists in the world. Is one of the reasons why I fell in love with boxing.
Yes.
And he is an absolute monster, but he's 58 years old now. We're seeing those videos, those promotional videos that have come out. They're supposed to look like that. That's why they're promotional videos. Bryan and I both work in the business, and we know how that works. And those videos are like really short.
Yeah.
I think Mike Tyson has a really good chance to knock him out in the first round. First round, you kind of get to kind of feel each other out. I think Jake Paul can make some mistakes. He's still getting in a ring with a guy that has tons of boxing experience. The experience level is not the same at all. Jake Paul is younger, and he's gotten better in every fight that he's had. That's why I actually think there's going to be 2 or more knockdowns in this fight. I think Jake Paul is going to get knocked down, and I think Mike Tyson might get knocked down as well.
He has been several times, and this
in his career.
Even at his peak, he was dropped. We remember famously. So
And he's 58 years old now. And when was it? Like 10 months ago, he was seen walking with a cane. Like,
yeah,
I fear, I don't want to see him get knocked out cold.
me neither.
That's something that I actually don't want to see. And here's the thing, now I'm going to turn into a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, what the?
Because, yeah, now I'm going to turn to a conspiracy, because it's like, this is such a dangerous fight for Mike, actually. Getting into the ring with a guy that's so much younger than you, who is known to knock out these former MMA guys, these, older boxers. And it's dangerous for Mike. Like, he's almost a senior, essentially. I think he could order off the Denny's menu and get a discount for the senior menu. I think it's 55. I don't know, but I always look at that part of the menu because I'm like,
how old do you have to be for AARP?
I don't know, that's American lingo.
Oh, shit.
We call it CP. We call it CPP.
Yours is probably
in
better
Canada.
than ours. Trust
no,
me.
it's not. No, I guarantee you, it's not.
You want to bet? Honestly,
it's pretty bad up here too. It's pretty bad up here too. I'm not gonna lie. It's you know what? Maybe.
Did you see what we just did last week?
Wait till you see what we do in October 2025. It's gonna be just as bad. It's gonna be just as bad from what it seems like. Anyways, nonetheless, we won't get into politics. We'll get into the politics of boxing. I feel like, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but I'm going to sound like it. But what if this is rigged? Okay, like what if this is one of those fights? And we've seen this with these Jake Paul fights where, and I'm not. I listen. He's won.
A lot of people are asking about this. So
okay, but because but I wasn't ever saying that before. I really wasn't. I was like, Jake Paul's getting in the ring. I've been giving him props. I love what he's done for women's boxing. I think he's an incredible businessman. This is the first boxing fight on Netflix, and I guarantee you it's not going to be the last. Like, he's making changes in this sport, and it's amazing. But I'm thinking, you're fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Now, like you talked about winning and losing in this sport, Jake Paul has a lot to lose if he loses to Mike Tyson. But how is Mike Tyson going to get into the ring and lose to a Jake Paul? I don't even think I want to see that. I think that's going to crush me if I see Mike Tyson lose to Jake Paul. So I think it's going to be, I don't know why I think this, because I think it's going to be rigged in a sense where we see both of them get knocked down. Mike doesn't get knocked out. Nothing crazy happens. And Jake Paul ends up winning by decision.
I mean,
a draw. Like, I'm looking at the draw. I'm like, yo, like,
plus 900.
I just don't believe. I don't believe this fight as I did the other ones. The other ones, I'm like, yo, it's real. He's fighting Mike Perry. It's real. Mike Perry's a dog, right? Like,
Nate Diaz also.
Yes, Nate Diaz is a dog. This is a real fight. I gave him props, but for Mike Tyson, it's like he's too old. He's my mom's age.
But I don't think Mike Tyson's coming in for a fake fight. I do not.
No, but he's coming in for the bag, which he deserves.
Sure, yeah, and
the money's going to be good. That's like, the only reason he took the fight. Like, why else would he get in the ring with him?
There's a world, like a legitimate world, where this lasts a round and a half and it's a no contest because Mike Tyson just pulled something bad and he's hurt and can't continue. Like, I'm not even joking.
I don't even want to see. That's the thing. I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to see that as bad. What I actually do want to see. So, okay. So this is my bet for the fight. It's 2 or more knockdowns, which is a plus 165.
Yes.
And then I think, just because I'm going with the version of it being rigged, I'm not saying it's going to be, a plus 110 for Jake Paul to win by decision, or the draw, which is a plus 1400. Like, I'm looking at those bets for it.
Do you think Mike Tyson has to win by knockout? Like, he's not going to be able to win by decision?
Now, let me tell you this, okay? So that's what I think in my mind. I'm like, yo, this is rigged. It's Mike Tyson. He's like 58. How is he going to go against Jake Paul? What I want to happen, though, and this is no shade on Jake Paul. Like I said, Jake Paul, I give him props. But Mike Tyson is one of my favorite fighters. I had to convince myself not to wear my Iron Mike shirt on this show to not be unprofessional.
Right.
But yeah. I look like Spinelli, apparently, so I wouldn't have mattered. But I want Mike Tyson to knock him out cold. I want Mike Tyson to knock him out. Like, why else am I watching? Like, why else, as a Mike Tyson fan, would I be watching this?
I think boxing purists are rooting for that. I think Nerd brings up an interesting comment where he says Jake Paul winning is better for the sport. I think there's an argument to be made that that's the case. But I also think that boxing purists are not trying to hear that shit.
Did you see my face? I was like, what sport are you talking about?
You know,
like
I
my
get like to play devil's advocate, which is a term I fucking hate, but to play devil's advocate, um, I think it's because like the Jake Paul story can keep going with Mike Tyson, and yes, there's talk about, oh, if he wins this, could he then challenge like any heavyweight, whatever, whatever. And the answer is like, I mean, maybe, but I don't want to see him fight Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder or Frank Sanchez or, Andy Ruiz. Like, I'm not even naming like, the champions. I don't even want to see him fight like any of the stepping stone type of dudes with respect to all of those guys, but that's where they kind of are right now. Although Anthony Joshua will get a title shot when he's ready because he's, going to get a rematch. I don't want to see Mike Tyson fight any of them dudes. Like
I
if
want
he
to see Mike
clears out.
Tyson. Yeah, I want to see Mike Tyson make cameos in movies. That's the only thing I want to see. I don't want, I want to see him knock out Jake Paul on Friday night. And I want to see him in cameos in movies and interviews and stuff like that. That's what I want to see from Mike. I don't think I want to see him in the ring again. I did enjoy him and Roy Jones. I like the boxing fan in me loved that one, and they
I
both
was scared about that fight, but mostly for Roy Jones because I've seen him get knocked out silly for 20 years.
They
Like
both
that's the
look good though.
difference.
For they had moments where they both look good.
Roy Jones Jr. Talk about like generation. Roy Jones Jr. was like one of my first, like after Felix Trinidad and Miguel Cotto, because I was on Cotto like as a child, but Roy Jones Jr. was one of my dudes growing up. And to me, he's the second best athlete of the 1990s, regardless of the sport. We all know who's first.
Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm like, I had to make sure. I had to make sure.
But Mike Tyson plus 240 to win by stoppage. And also, this is another interesting bet. Like Jake Paul to get knocked down and win is like plus 500, 550, depending on where you look.
That's something I might want to take a look at.
Yeah, like that was one of the long shots for me, along with the draw. That just I saw it and I was like, ooh, like I'm like Jake Paul, like he hasn't faced a big puncher even with old man strength, which Mike Tyson clearly has. And we always talk about power being the last to go. I think that's more so the case with heavyweights specifically. It's not always the case with, like the Manny Pacquiao's who stopped knocking guys out, and Canelo Alvarez who's not knocking guys out anymore. But for heavyweights like a Mike Tyson, so I kind of think he might have to win by knockout because I don't know how his stamina is going to be late. But Jake Paul also has shitty stamina, and I think the fact that this being 8 rounds and 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds makes this more of a maybe even level playing field if we're going to get into the actual like fighting portion.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're not wearing 10-ounce gloves. They're wearing, is it 14-ounce gloves that they're wearing in this one?
Let me double check, but I think
they're not wearing 10-ounce gloves. So despite the fact of it being labeled a real bout, if you actually take a look at the rules, it's not, but it's being classified as one. So I think Jake Paul has a great chance to continue to make a name for himself. If he loses to Mike Tyson, to be honest with you, Brian, I continue to say this. I think if he loses to Mike Tyson, we're still going to get fights like this. I don't think it ever stops.
You're right.
Jake Paul has done enough where he's a success. I mean, bringing this fight to Netflix is great. And I think we continue to get it. I think we'd get a rematch, depending on how much money they would make off this.
Oh God.
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson too. Like it's actually done so well. Like if you've been on Netflix, like they have the show that came out that shows them training and everything. Like it's done so well. It's so like he's such a good businessman, Jake Paul. So let's give him credit for that. So I guess do we have a winner that we're picking? I think we're both thinking draw, and I'm thinking Jake Paul decision, and we're both thinking 2 knockdowns.
But we both probably can't bring ourselves to say Jake Paul's gonna knock Mike Tyson out, to be fair. Like it's probably the smartest bet on the board. Like it may end up being the case because he's young, he's also very strong, he's taller, he has a reach advantage, he's been more active. Like all the boxes are checked there for Jake Paul, but it's also like your best win is Anderson Silva, who was also old as fuck and barely won that fight, in my opinion. Got the knockdown. And also, Jake Paul has never fought at heavyweight. I mean, he's been heavy going into fights before, but all of his fights he's weighed in at 200 or lighter, and really he's only started just weighing at the 200-pound cruiserweight limit. He's really been like the low
Yeah.
190s for the most part before that. Whereas Mike Tyson, even back then, was 220 something, 230 something for all of his fights. Well, specifically like toward the back half of his career.
See, this one's a little bit different for Jake Paul, I think, because you talked about Silva, an absolute legend, one of the greatest fighters of all time in the UFC. And then the dogs that he's faced, like the grittiest guys, Nate Diaz, Mike
Yeah.
Perry. Mike Tyson is in a different lane than any of those guys. Jake Paul has never faced this type of power. He's never even faced this type of man in the ring. Like, Mike was different. I can't wait to see Mike's entrance. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, what is he gonna come out to?
I'm so
Like,
scared.
you know what I mean?
By the way,
What-
14-ounce gloves. You're right about that. Which means, I mean, look, Texas is like, listen, we're trying to play it safe for ourselves, whatever the case may be. So, there's that part of it. Also, probably not as great for the knockout and knockdown bets, but still, like, given what we've seen, the other piece of this is Jake Paul. All the guys he's fought have fought at significantly lighter weights than him, pretty much. Like Nate Diaz was fighting like fucking featherweight in UFC.
What was Nate Robinson fighting at?
Like Nate Robinson, seriously, Nate Robinson needs like a kidney donor right now. I don't know what shape he was in even leading up to that fight.
No, I liked his Knicks colored.
Me too. I wish he won that fight.
Sick.
He could have prevented.
I wanted to. I was going for him. I remember when it happened. I was devastated.
And I hope Nate Robinson, like, he gets what he needs, because that shit is scary.
That's really sad for sure. But we made our picks for the fight. We want to know how you're going to be betting this fight. If you think Jake Paul is going to actually knock out Mike Tyson, if you think Mike Tyson's going to knock out Jake Paul, let us know. Drop your comments below. Also, remember to follow us on our social media channels. We're at The Mandatory TKO, and hit that like and subscribe button if you'd like the content. We got to get into the fight that we actually really care about on this card. This is the main fight. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 2. This one is going to be absolutely epic. Now, Katie Taylor actually edged out Amanda Serrano in the first fight. A little bit of controversy because there were a lot of people left after that fight, including Bryan and I, that really thought that Amanda Serrano won 6 rounds to 4. If I'm not mistaken, we had the same scorecards. But, it's been a little while now. They're back in the ring. Bryan, do you see this fight going any differently? And how are you betting this one?
I did this on my YouTube channel, so y'all can go check that out too. But I mean, for this one, I feel like I'm committing a damn sin, because the whole thing about me and Amanda Serrano are damn near from the same neighborhood. Like, she had grown up in Bushwick. I'm in Ridgewood in New York City. Those neighborhoods are bordering each other, legitimately bordering each other. Like, I grew up playing baseball in Bushwick and shit like that. One of the first athletes I did a profile on when I was writing at a newspaper in 2016, before Amanda Serrano was like the Amanda Serrano we know now. She was barely getting highlights on Showtime Extreme, and she was like in the second world title run, when people like didn't give a shit about women who box at that point. And she's only grown and grown and grown ever since. Interviewed her multiple times and all those different things. But like, if she didn't get the decision in New York, like, it's really hard for me to see her getting the decision now. And Katie Taylor is somebody who has had some favorable decisions in her career. Delphine Pursoon, a lot of people thought she lost that fight, the first one, not the rematch. Natasha Jonas was a very close fight when they fought. I think the majority of people thought that Katie Taylor edged that one out, to be fair. But still, the scorecards sort of were what they were at that point. There was also the Shantelle Cameron fight, the second one, where that was a majority decision, as was the first one. And I thought in the second one, like, that could have easily been a draw, but she got the decision, and they made it be like, oh, you should never doubt Katie Taylor, because
Katie Taylor was moving up for that fight too. Like, that was Shantelle Cameron's natural weight class, and I think a lot of people thought Katie Taylor was gonna just go into that weight class and beat Shantelle Cameron, but Shantelle Cameron's a problem in that division, so she needs credit for that. Just want to say,
no, she gets credit for that, but also, like, that's a decision that I mean, I don't know how it goes if it's not in Ireland. You know what I mean? And the first one she lost, and she lost a little bit more convincingly, I think, than the 96, 94 would entail. I feel like there was probably another round you could find for Chantel Cameron there, and one judge had it even. And then obviously the Amanda Serrano fight, which we both think really could have gone Amanda Serrano's way. Katie Taylor boxed really well in that fight. Like, and she closed strong. That was the thing about it. She closed strong. She was boxing. She was moving. And I feel like she just has more pathways to victory. And then here's the other thing. It's like Amanda Serrano's been in twice the pro fights that Katie Taylor has. And speaking of, power and whether or not that is the first thing to go or not, up until the Stevie Morgan fight, we'll get to her in a second, it was 3 years with no knockouts. And Amanda Serrano, this is going to be her third fight in this weight class. Now, for somebody who's jumped up and down a lot and has won world titles in 7 weight classes, which is a record for women and second only to Manny Pacquiao in boxing history, she's only fought in this weight class twice. One of them was to Stevie Morgan, who respectfully put forth the worst performance that we've seen from a prize fight this year. It was awful. Like, she did not belong in the same ring with Amanda Serrano at all due respect. And she just cleared her out. Amanda Serrano did, and that was her first knockout in a long time. Katie Taylor, she's beaten better competition. She's been in the ring with better competition. So, like, all these factors to me, and the fact that this is in Dallas and not New York, like, I kind of feel like Katie Taylor's just going to do it again. So I already bet her to win by decision, as much as it fucking pains me, because Amanda Serrano is like maybe my favorite fighter in boxing and has been for a while. And obviously is somebody that like is one of probably the 10 athletes that I've probably talked about the most in doing this for a long time now at this point, making myself sound old. But I just think Katie Taylor's probably going to get this one. The only thing that gave me hesitation was, if you're looking at this from a promotional perspective, you might be like, hey, give this one to Amanda so we could have the trilogy, cash out, whatever the case may be. So that's sort of the thing that I thought about. But I lean Katie Taylor by decision, which right now is plus money at one popular book. It was at minus 110. It's moved to plus 105.
So my sentiments for this fight, not much different than yours, Bryan, in a sense that obviously I did also think that Amanda Serrano won that first fight. I think the issue is, though, when you're fighting 10 rounds and they're only 2-minute rounds, the rounds are so close. And I think that's what's going to be the issue in this fight again. I think the rounds are going to be really close. I think the scorecards are going to be all over the place. And I think everyone on X and Twitter is going to have their own opinion on who's winning this fight. It's going to be a fight where it's 6-4 again. Either way. I think Amanda Serrano, as you've heard her say, I believe she was saying that she feels most natural at 126. Yes. Did she not say that? So
she was undisputed there, I think that's her best weight class too. Having seen her for forever, like, I think 126 is her best weight class.
Yeah, so she's not fighting this fight at 126, but we've seen her win, multiple belts in different weight classes. So she has the experience to do that. I think Amanda Serrano, the one thing that I'm noticing every year is that she's been taking a lot more hits than usual.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've noticed. But the thing about Serrano is she's an aggressive fighter. She likes to come forward. She likes to dictate the pace. And I thought she did that very well in that first fight. I think Serrano, we're going to see possibly one of the best versions of her in the ring on Friday, because I think she wants this more than ever. I think she wants to avenge this loss, because I think in her mind, they think she won too. I really want to bet on Amanda Serrano. I think the judges really like Katie Taylor, though. I know I'm being conspiracy.
IMPK brings up an interesting point in the comments. If you could put it up, because I can't, because it's not working.
Oh, my bad.
But he says this fight being at 140 is a problem for Serrano. However, Texas judges stereotypically like aggressive fighters, which, a lot of Mexican fighters in Texas. So, like, that's more of the style down there. What I would say to that is Katie Taylor can get aggressive too. Like, she can brawl also. But the thing is, this is the thing with me, Shantelle. What do you think about this? Like, I feel like Katie Taylor has more ways to win this fight, where she can brawl a little bit. She could also counter and move and fight at her range. Whereas Amanda Serrano, like, what she's here to do. And it's going to be some of the most elite pressure fighting that you could find in boxing.
You're gonna see speed. You're gonna
Yeah,
see her pressure her. You're gonna see her come forward. You're
but
gonna
it's
see her
risky.
take. If you're gonna see her take hit after hit, power shot
Yeah,
after power shot, still continue to keep on throwing. And
yeah,
how the judges score this is gonna be the most important. And
yeah.
that's why I feel like it could be very close. I would also take a look at draw for this one.
Yes, 1000%.
And so that's the bet that I'm actually looking at for this one, because I think it's going to be extremely close until they make women's boxing 3-minute rounds. That's the
Mhm.
only way that we're never going to leave championship fights not wondering who won, because there's
Amanda's
just been
trying.
there's Amanda has tried, and boxing was like, nah, you're not doing that ever again, fam. So she's definitely tried, and props for her for trying to change that for women, and everything that she's done for the sport. But I'm actually taking a look at draw, which is a plus 1200. I think
1600
everyone
at another book. I just
okay
saw
per I
1600.
okay. So what is that what is that prominent book? Because I would bet on that today.
The one with the F.
Oh, we used to work there. Let's just say it,
Yes.
FanDuel. That this is where Brian and I first started this show, essentially.
Yeah.
So I would take a look at draw, because I think it's going to be extremely close. I also think Jake Paul wants to put a Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 3 on his undercard on his next fight. You know what I mean? Like
Jake
it
Paul
says
versus
to
Mike
me.
Tyson 2 and Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor 3.
But I will say, if there's one trilogy fight that I would want to see, it's Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. These are two of the best women boxers in the world, and I wouldn't mind to see a trilogy fight. If the draw doesn't happen, Katie Taylor by decision plus 110.
You know what though? Like, as someone who I've already put money on Katie Taylor by decision, and I put money on the draw as we were talking about this because I saw plus 1600. I was
That's
like, oh
crazy.
god,
Yeah.
you have to. But I would also look at whoever you think is going to win this fight, or if you want to hedge, like if you bet Katie Taylor by decision already, you could still get value on like Amanda Serrano by split decision, Amanda Serrano by majority decision. Because to your point, I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if this is going to be a unanimous decision victory for anybody.
To be honest with you, if I'm going to take a risky bet, and if anyone knows me, I like to take risky bets, I would probably take Amanda by split, because I bet you the odds are crazy. It doesn't show up on my Bet365 app, but
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to look right now.
yeah, look it up, because that's the bet that I would take, because I think a lot of people, I mean, look, the money line, you guys, is Katie Taylor minus 125, Amanda Serrano minus 105. So it's really close.
It was bigger than that before. Katie Taylor yesterday legitimately was like minus 150, and money, like more
Money's
bets have
coming
come
in on Amanda Serrano, and
Yeah.
that's how close this fight is going to be, which is why I'm leaning towards a draw. The first one was so close. Like, everyone was, I know a lot of people that were pissed off after that fight. I was. I did not believe the outcome.
Split decision, majority decision, from what I'm seeing, not available yet. But remember, people,
Probably,
it is Tuesday. A lot of these things tend to come out Wednesday and occasionally even Thursday, just leading up to the fight. But right now, like, I'm seeing knockdown props, I'm seeing over under, which don't even look. It's a waste of time. The over 8.5 rounds is legitimately minus 700. So I mean, I wouldn't even entertain that. But other things, like even to get one or more knockdowns is plus money at plus 200. I'm not positive that either Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano have ever been dropped before. So, and again, we'd see more
the fight's
knockdowns
going
in
the
women's
distance.
boxing. We would see more knockdowns in women's boxing if they had 3-minute rounds,
rounds,
which they should. But
yeah, and maybe if, and I know people are gonna hate this when maybe if they went down to 8-ounce gloves, we'd for sure see knockouts.
Do you want that?
I would. I don't think women's boxing needs it, especially in the state that it's in right now. And you mentioned this earlier when you were covering Amanda in 2016. Not a lot of people were really into women's boxing. Like, it didn't have the same spotlight it has now. I would go even further than you and say, like, during the COVID year, 2020, like, women's boxing wasn't where it was then, where it is now. Like, people were still complaining about it in 2020. People were still complaining about it in early 2021. It just kind of took a change. And I really do think Jake Paul had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah.
And let's give props to the women as well, because they put on some great fights. Like, there's been some great fights over the years that haven't got the spotlight, and we're seeing it now all of the time. Like, sometimes the women cards are the better fights on a card. Are you on
Yeah,
mute?
like one of the early fights that I remember getting a lot of attention was Heather Hardy versus Shelly Vincent, especially when they did it the second time, because they fought on the same card as Errol Spence in 2016. And this is when Errol Spence was becoming Errol Spence. He had knocked out Leonard Bundu at Coney Island Ford Amphitheater. Horrible venue for boxing. And I think it might have been the only time that they used it. But and it was rainy as fuck that day, August, I think 21st, 2016. Second fight I ever covered in person. And Heather Hardy and Shelly Vincent stole the show, beat the fuck out of each other, and Heather Hardy escaped with a narrow decision win for an international title. They did it again on HBO in 2018, and I think it was the last HBO card or one of the very last HBO cards, and that was at the MSG Theater. Danny Jacobs, I think, fought on that same card as well. And that was when it started getting more and more attention. And then shortly after, Amanda Serrano fights Heather Hardy, and that was a fight that garnered attention. So, or around that time, may have been before. But yeah, like 2018-19 is when it started bubbling up. I credit Lou DiBella for some of that too, because he was always trying to get women on his card. And then during the pandemic, we started seeing it go up to a new level. And then we also got more stars, and Clarissa Shields also gets credit for a lot of this too, because she came along.
She doesn't get mentioned enough, even though you could say that she's the GOAT.
Yeah,
you could say that.
I think it's just because like people criticize, like, well, one, her, but two, her level of competition, and it's like, she blows out.
It is what it is, though. I hate when they say that, though. Level of competition. That's her competition, though. Who else is she supposed to fight? I will also say that there's two fights that I love this year. Michaela Mayer, Sandy Ryan. I think that should be up for fight of the year. And I loved Sinisa Estrada and Yokasta. I thought that those two fights were two of the best fights this year. And I think Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, too, are going to be one of the best fights this year, too.
The first one in 2022 was my fight of the year. Yeah, I think yours also. And also another one, Michaela Mayer versus Natasha Jonas from January. People forget about it, but that was a really, really good fight.
Very good. Yes. And it was close. Like, again, these fights are always so close. So, make sure to let us know how you're going to be betting this one. Drop some comments. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel grow. And follow us at the Mandatory TKO. There's a couple of fights going down too on Saturday. So, a full weekend of boxing, which obviously is always great. And this is one that I think we've kind of been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for, Brian. I don't know why it's in Saudi.
Yeah.
I'm upset about it. Jose Ramirez and Arnold Barboza Jr. This fight should have been in Fresno, but, whatever. Yeah. It should have been in Fresno, though. This is a fight at 140 that I think at one point you were wondering who was 5 or 6, who was in that 5 or 6 slot. Jose Ramirez and Arnold Barboza Jr. A lot of people thought Arnold Barboza Jr. did not win his last fight. And Jose Ramirez, a lot of people have been knocking him since he lost to Josh Taylor like a couple of years ago. So this is a very interesting fight, Brian, because I think it changes things in the 140 division on who's going to fight. And to be honest with you, this is Arnold Barboza Jr.'s biggest fight of his career. This is the fight he's been waiting for.
I agree. 1,000%.
How are you betting this fight, and who do you have winning? I'm going to quickly take a look at the odds. It's very close. I don't know if you had them pulled up yet. They don't have the full odds yet, but they have the money lineup. And I took a look at it. Jose Ramirez was the favorite, and he's a minus 200. And Arnold Barboza Jr. is a plus 160. By the way, we had Arnold on our show. So if you ever want to go check out that interview, what's up?
I am PK. Put up his last comment.
I am PK13, friend of the show, by the way. I'm not sure what is more shocking, Sinisa Estrada retiring or Sinisa Estrada being married to Chris Mannix. I think it is the second one. No, actually, I don't know.
No comment.
They're both. I just know when I found out that she was dating Chris Mannix, I was pretty shocked. But that's good boxing. That's good boxing gossip that was kept on the low for a while. So good on them.
Yeah. All right. We'll get back to Jose Ramirez and
enough gossip.
That was worth putting on the board. Also, was surprised that Sneak's just trying to retire. But when you think about it, it's like I don't know what else she has to prove, and she's already done some commentary, so I assume that she's going to hang around and still do that.
She should, yeah.
And she's good at it. So, okay, in terms of rankings right now, because this is important, Jose Ramirez is sixth according to the WBC. Arnold Barboza is seventh. So they're neck and neck there. Neither appear to be ranked by the WBA, which is interesting. The IBF has Arnold Barboza at 4, Jose Ramirez at 9, and the WBO has Arnold Barboza at 1 and Jose Ramirez at 4. So I guess despite leaving top rank, both of them are still highly favored by the WBO. I think with this fight, it's very hard for me to just say Arnold Barboza is going to win because of the performance against Sean McComb that he probably should have lost in April. But that's not always an indication of, hey, like that could literally just be a bad night. And in boxing, it's tough when you get a bad night because when you're in the NBA, you're going to have bad nights out of 82 games. It's just part of it. If you're a fighter, you can't afford to have one because it'll literally change the trajectory of your career. Like there are guys who have had bad nights who we've written off because of their performance or whatever the case would be. So, and Jose Ramirez hasn't necessarily been spotless since the loss of Josh Taylor either. Like he looked good against Jose Pedraza, but Jose Pedraza is not naturally a guy that's 140, if we're being honest. He looked, better in the Richard Colmay fight and finished him. And then Rances Barthélemy,
he had some problems in that fight. Like you know what I mean? But Barthélemy is actually like a really tricky and really good fighter. So I'm actually not surprised in that fight. But
and the scorecards were horrendous. The scorecards were like 119, 109, 118, 110. And I thought Barthélemy, like that was a much, much closer fight than that. I don't remember how I scored it. Could have been 115, 113 Ramirez. Could have been like, it was close. I got to rewatch it again. There may have been people who think Barthélemy should have just won that fight. So I think both of these guys are coming off of questionable performances. I'll say that Barthélemy is better than Sean McComb, in my opinion. But that doesn't always I actually think that the odds make a lot of sense right now. Jose Ramirez minus 196, Barboza plus 142. I would also lean that this goes to the cards. So I'd be curious to see if the over-under is going to be 10.5 or what that number is going to be. I probably would lean Jose Ramirez by decision, but we've been higher than most on Arnold Barboza on the show, not just because he came on the show. We asked him to come on the show because we were higher on him. But ultimately, I think that he can win this fight because Jose Ramirez hasn't looked, just spotless again since then. But I would probably lean Jose Ramirez by decision for now. But I want to see the method of victory numbers come out first.
Yeah, I want to see the method of victory numbers as well. I do think this goes to decision. I do believe that. I think it's going to be a closer fight than what people think. I think we're going to see classic Jose Ramirez. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw a lot of punches. And I think we're going to get a very tactical performance by Arnold Barboza Jr. using his jab and, being technical because that's what Arnold Barboza does. I think he's going to try to get to the body. He's actually an underrated body puncher. He did not look good in his last fight, and he didn't win his last fight, in my opinion, to Sean McComb. Sean McComb I hate to say, I think Sean McComb got robbed in that fight. And he's a tricky fighter, and that's upsetting. Basically, he came all the way from Ireland for that fight, and that shouldn't happen in boxing, but hey, it did. And now we have the fight that we wanted. And I hate that it's not in Fresno. I keep saying this, but that's where the fight should be, or StubHub Center, whatever. Which I don't know if it's still called StubHub Center, but
it's it's something else. Who cares?
Okay. Anyways, nonetheless, this is a fight. The reason why I'm so high on Arnold Barboza Jr. is the way that he beat Jose Pedraza. And when he annihilated, and I hate to say it, but he destroyed Jose Pedraza. And I'm very high on Jose Pedraza. A lot of people are oh, he Jose Pedraza, that's a very good win. People are forgetting that Jose Pedraza is a former champ. And I just thought he fought very, very well against him. And that's when I was I think Arnold Barboza could be top 5 in this division. He has a chance to prove it because I think a lot of people don't really know where to place Jose Ramirez at one point. I didn't even know where he was. He wasn't even fighting. He got married. He was living that good life. I was like, yo, let's put him on a milk carton because
We
he's too
thought
relaxed.
he was supposed to fight Regis Prograis at one point, which Regis told us, and then that didn't end up materializing. But I'll say this about the Jose Pedraza thing is that he did beat Jose Pedraza. I felt like it was impressive, but Jose Ramirez did it first and did it a year earlier.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
pro- I do think Arnold Barboza, like to me, may have gotten more rounds, so to speak. Although Jose Ramirez was a 12 rounder, all judges gave it 116, 112 to Ramirez, and the Barboza scores were like 97, 93, 96, 94. I feel like 97, 93 was more fair.
Yeah.
Um, to that, you make like, what do you make of that? Given that Jose Ramirez did it first, did it in 12 rounds, and arguably did it more impressively.
I don't know if he did it more impressively, to be honest with you, because I just think about the rounds, and I also think about everything. Like Jose Ramirez was already Jose Ramirez at that point. At least to
That
me,
was his
he
first
was.
fight. That was his first fight after losing to Josh Taylor.
Yeah,
It was the
and
year after.
but to me, he wasn't even in that fight against Josh Taylor. I continue to say this, and if you've watched this show, then I'm a big Jose Ramirez fan. Like he's one of my favorite fighters. He didn't even fight like himself in that Josh Taylor fight. I was shocked in that fight. I was like, this doesn't look like Jose Ramirez, and whatever. I know that's not an excuse, but I did not have him losing to Josh Taylor when that fight came out. I thought he was going to beat Josh Taylor. So I really don't care that Jose Ramirez did it a year earlier. Like, I think these guys have a chance. I think Arnold has an opportunity. This is his opportunity. He has to go and get this. He has to get the win, and this is his chance. For the longest time, he's been wanting a title shot. This is the biggest fight that he's going to have on his resume, and there's a lot riding on it. And he's such a good guy. I would really hope that he gets the win, but I also love Jose Ramirez. This is a tough fight for me to pick, but
Yeah.
I think, emotionally, because we've actually talked to Arnold. He's a good guy. Him and his dad are both Dodgers and Raiders fans. Like, I don't know how I go against him. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. I like the Barboza family, but I also really like Jose Ramirez. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I think Jose Ramirez wins by decision, and
Yeah.
that's a plus 110. Like, if I have to lean one way, and that's only because Jose Ramirez, we've seen a little bit more of him in a sense of fighting better names. Like, he's got the better resume. So if we're just going off of resume and experience, I take Jose, but I think Arnold has a really, really good chance. And I think he heard everyone talking about that Sean McComb fight. This is his chance, man. I think this could be a very close fight.
I'm probably not betting on this fight until the morning of. I want to see how the market sort of progresses. I want to see the decision, like the full slate come out. I'm very interested in this fight. I really do wish it was on the West Coast because I think the crowd will be a lot more live for this.
And you
because
do it in
both guys-
Fresno. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine? Like, I don't know why they didn't. I have
Yeah.
no idea why this fight is not in Cali. They would have sold out.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
no
both
matter where it was.
They're both from California. Like there's how many fucking venues you could have put this in California that would have done well. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. But regardless, that's happening. And look,
one more thing. Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up. One more thing. This fight is going to mean a lot to 140, to this division.
Yeah.
There's going to be repercussions from this fight on who you fight next. So that's all I'm going to say. Like, this is probably the biggest fight this weekend, other than Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano too. This fight might be bigger because 140 is a mess. I don't know what's going on in that division. By the way, rumors about Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez possibly getting into the ring together. But but I'm telling you, if that fight doesn't happen, and if politics are the way I don't think that fight's going to happen. I think Jose Ramirez could be in line to fight either Teofimo Lopez, which there was talk about that, or even Devin Haney, or Teofimo Lopez fighting Arnold Barboza Jr., because there was also talk about that as well at one point.
We want to talk about 140, which I think next week will be a good time to do it, given we'll see how the Teofimo Devin Haney rumor progresses, because like there's a lot of bullshit in the sport. Like, there's a Ring magazine thing that I want to talk about that we'll get to at some point. We need more details on some of these things, right? Because in boxing, the sport where like you don't want to waste your time jumping the gun for shit. Um, this fight, the ramifications on 140 is going to be big. Jack Catterall just beat Regis Prograis. Now he's going to be waiting around to see like if he can get a title shot next. Liam Paro is fighting Richardson Hitchens next month for a title. Where's Alberto Puello? What's going to happen with his next title defense? Is Rayo Valenzuela actually going to get the Isaac Cruz fight, or is he going to go in a different direction? And now the Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez rumor. Like, there's a lot going on here. And Subriel Matias, speaking of, just got a knockout win last week. He got rocked in round 1 because he sucks in round 1. Like, if you ever want to bet Subriel Matias, like, you could do it ahead of time, but also just wait till after the first round because he always gets his ass kicked in round 1. And then it's like Felix Trinidad. And then in round 2, he starts like piecing up. Like, you watch the first round, you're like, oh, he's going to get fucked up tonight. And then in round 2, he just turns it on and he knocked him out with a body shot. So Subriel Matias is somebody who could be right back in the mix now with a second round knockout win. And, so on and so forth. This division is a mess, but it's competitive. Sandor Martin is still lurking around here.
What about when Ryan Garcia comes back? Right? There's so much going on in this division.
I don't know what weight he's going to be. I mean, like, I don't know if he's going to be 140, 147, 168. Like, I don't know what he's going to do. But yeah, this division is very, very, very fun in a lot of different ways. And this fight, the winner of this could very well have a title shot next.
I think that's the only thing. I think there is going to be a title shot next. I think this is going to be an eliminator, and they're going to get one of the top guys in the division. And I would hope it would be Teofimo Lopez if him and Devin Haney don't end up coming to terms. Brian, how are you betting this fight, by the way? Did you say? Are you betting Jose Ramirez decision as well? If you had to.
Maybe for now, but I reserve. That's not a firm. That's like a lean now, but I will probably change my mind. I want to see how the odds, like the rest of the odds, come out.
I don't want to bet on this fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just don't want to do it. It's gonna go to the distance. And I do think, no, I don't know actually. Jose Ramirez has been getting dropped a lot. Since
Someone
Josh
said
Taylor,
in the comments, I think it was it Al Powell? Might have been Al Powell. Oh no, it was Nerd. Shout out to everybody commenting.
Let me put this up, by the way. Nerd.
Yeah. You agree with this? Barbosa's been waiting for this opportunity for years. He is treating this as a championship fight. And on the other hand, Ramirez is past his prime and looking chinny. He got rocked in that fight against Barthélemy, from what I remember.
Ever since he got dropped by Josh Taylor, he's looked chinny. He's looked very chinny. So
Barboza doesn't have a ton of power, but he's accurate and he can mix it up a little bit more than you think.
He doesn't have a lot of power, but let's also remember that he retired Alex Saucedo. And remember, yes. Alex Saucedo was supposed to be that dude. Barboza came into that fight being the underdog. He wasn't supposed to beat Saucedo. They were pegging Saucedo to be, they were having him like, he's up next. He's up next. It's a very, very sad thing that happened with Alex Saucedo, but
yeah,
listen, it's one of those things where it's like Barboza doesn't have the power, and I'm using air quotes if you're listening to this on the audio side, but sometimes he can break down a fighter round after round after round, and that's even more damaging. There's different ways to damage your opponent, as I've been learning on Undisputed on PS5. Anyways.
I'm having fun with Undisputed, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it's been good. Are you undisputed yet or what? For your fighter?
Yes. Okay. Undisputed. Featherweight, but really super featherweight because I come in every fight 130. Even though I would, and I'm gonna do a lightweight. I'm gonna do a fighter like almost every fucking weight class. I can't wait.
You have to.
I hope the update is good. I hope the update is good as well.
I
don't like that. Yeah, this is my final thought. Latino night in Saudi Arabia. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Is it gonna be Latinos there?
This is called Latino Night is the event name, and this is going to be in Saudi Arabia. So this is the card. We have Zurdo Ramirez. Remember him? He's defending his cruiserweight championship against Chris Billiam Smith, which is a fun fight. Gilberto Ramirez is going to be there. We have William Segura versus Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer.
He's going to win this fight.
He got the short end of the stick against Raymond Murataya. I feel like Tevin Farmer, like he's plus plus like 800 or so on the money line.
I would bet him. You know what? I'm going to right now.
I've got
I'm gonna bet Tevin Farmer right now. Actually, plus 800. Yes.
I'll wait for Tevin Farmer by decision, which will have a little bit even more value
He's gonna win this fight.
But he ain't doing it by knockout if he does.
No, but like plus 800 on the money line.
William Zepeda, 31-0. And this is going to be his toughest test yet. That's for an interim lightweight title, by the way. WBC interim lightweight title. Shows you what they think of Tevin Farmer's performance against Murataya last fight. Oscar Collazo. So Puerto Rico stand up. He's going to be defending his.
Oh, Jalen Brunson did get 15 points tonight. I was all mad and stuff. Okay, good. Thank you, Jalen.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit. Oscar Collazo, minimum weight title defense. That's a fucking tough one. Because he is facing knockout CP Freshmart. And if you know him from Thailand, that dude is tough. Oscar Collazo, I'm wondering I got to check the odds for that. He could be an underdog. Oscar Duarte, speaking of Ryan Garcia, is returning on this card as well. So there it is. This should be in California, legitimately. I don't know why it's out there. No disrespect, but just
Turk put on a big event in LA. With Bud, he should have been up. What? Turk doesn't want to go to Fresno. He don't want to go to the Central Valley.
Go back to LA then.
That's what I mean. It would have sold. It would have sold out there or San Diego or something like that.
Yeah.
They could have done it there, but but you know what? The card will be earlier. If you're on the West Coast, it'll be like around 2:00. So
Oscar De La Hoya is the man behind this one, along with Ben Shalom from Boxer. There are some underdogs who can win this card. This could be a very fun card. We may do a live show for it. We are planning on doing a live show.
We're just waiting on Brian to decide if he can do it.
Yeah, I have a scheduling conflict. We'll figure it out.
Do you actually have a scheduling? Are you working that night?
No. I have like a pre-planned scheduling conflict.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just because I canceled my pre-planned scheduling conflict on Friday night to do Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, and this guy does not want to cancel his scheduling conflict on Saturday, and I'm busy this week.
Do y'all want a live show on Saturday for the Jose Ramirez Arnold Barboza card is what we'll call it?
Get at Brian and say it in the comments, because it's like I had to change. Hey, Al the Pal, by the way, if you donate to the show, you get your comment up right away. Thank you for donating to the show. We do appreciate you.
That's right.
I'll let you read this one since you can't even see the comments.
Y'all know Lindolfo Delgado. He's 140. Been wanting him to shine. Don't know why they never gave him a shot. He's been around. Think he went to the Olympics and he can box and brawl well with the guys they give him. Lindolfo Delgado is a good shout. He's not talked about enough. He's ranked 8th right now by the WBC, and that is pretty much it in terms of high rankings. He's 13 IBF, 11 WBO, so they're not even showing him a lot of love there. But Lindolfo Delgado is somebody who, like, he kind of needs to get a big fight soon. He's one of those. Like, Arnold Barboza was in this vortex for a while, and he's finally getting the big fight, and he's damn near in his mid-30s. So Lindolfo Delgado is approaching 30 now. He has Jackson Marinez. Actually, he has a fight coming up next month in Phoenix. Jackson Marinez, I believe, lost to Frank Martin. Yes, Frank Martin stopped him at the Alamo Dome, and Roy Romero also beat him before. So he's been in the ring with a couple dudes. So maybe this sets up Lindolfo Delgado for something bigger at 140 next year, but he needs to get going now.
By the way, a good friend of the show, I am PK13. By the way, Al the Pal, thank you for donating to the show. The mandatory is almost at 2K subs. That is correct, guys. If you're watching this and you haven't already subscribed to the show, please do, because it helps the channel grow, and that way we can do more lives, and Brian won't pick another scheduling conflict over the show where I change my plans for you guys. Anyways,
we'll figure that out. But expect a live show Friday night. Even if the fight ends before midnight Eastern, it's the live will be like shortly after midnight Eastern, just because your boy got to work from 4 to 12. And then Saturday, we're hopefully gonna do another live show after.
Brian's so guilty. He's like just smiling. What are you? I'm gonna find out what you're doing on Saturday, because I could have had cool plans on Friday night, but we'll do the show because priorities. Anyways,
yeah.
I'm giving him a hard time. I just do this all the time. I'm older, so I can nag him.
And look, the Saudis might buy me some time because their start times be late. I don't know if there's going to be
That's
a
true.
performance. It's Latino night. I don't know if they're going to fly out like Osuna.
Bad Bunny.
You know what I mean? I don't think they're getting Bad Bunny unless like
Could
Bad
you
Bunny would
imagine?
probably like yeah, but it would have to be like Xander Zayas, Edgar Berlanga. You know what I
I
mean?
guess so. I guess
I
so.
don't know
Still
if Bad
though.
Bunny's popping out for Jose Ramirez,
I guess so. I guess
Oscar
so.
Duarte. You know what I'm saying?
Delgado and Barboza would do fights with my fam and always wanted them to shine. Oh, that's dope, Alda Pal, because I know you said some of your fam fought them. Honestly, like Jose Ramirez and I've never spoken to Jose before, but he's one of my favorite fighters, and Arnold's just a good guy. Like he came on our show when we had like 13 subscribers,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
We
so
should
he
probably
showed love.
start we should probably start doing interviews again. But I mean, you know,
We'll talk. Maybe we'll have some for the holiday season.
boxers need better Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? But we'll work on some interviews. Hopefully, maybe get one before the end of the year. If
Is
not,
that a motorcycle?
yeah, yeah, motherfuckers be speeding around here. You know what I mean?
In New
Highways
York
not that
City.
far.
New
Yeah,
York City. Any final thoughts, Brian, before we get out of here? Wait. By the way, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. I know we got on a little bit later. Let us know if you like that, because usually we're on hella early in the morning. But thank you for rocking with us. If you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Brian, you can have the final words.
Um, enjoy the fights. We will be back touching base on Friday and hopefully Saturday as well.